moving into 2021, now with Sky Sports, Wasserman, it's just, you know, the path is we're on a great trajectory now. I think that we've sorted everything out. We know where we want to move, and yeah, there's some big things coming.
I think it's fair to say throughout the course of your career, you've always, you know, you steer your own ship, don't you? You do what you feel is the right thing for you, and you won't be told what to do by anybody really. And it's about personalities a lot of the time, isn't it? As to who you decide to kind of, you know, hitch your wagon to, for want of a better expression. So, how fundamental were these two in terms of selling you this overall vision that they've got for Wasserman?
We just seem to have the same mindset, the same goals. You know, I remember when they first got in touch with us, and you know, they put the names and the route that they wanted to take me on, and it was exactly what I wanted. So you know, it was kind of a no-brainer. And now that we have the platform on Sky Sports, it's just, you know, the sky's the limit. So I'm very excited.
Just to say that, I mean, we do go back a few years now, but the World Boxing Super Series, of course, was mapped out. I mean, you chose your first opponent. I remember Senior down in Monte Carlo, and I swore he got the wrong one when he was choosing, but it ended up being the right one. He knocked out Avi Yildirim in 2 or 3 rounds, and then you know, that was the beginning. But I think the difference has become also is that what you said is what people see on the outside. The juniors boxing mind from back then, although it was much more of a tournament setup and whatever. Now we have conversations, and he's very firm in his mind, as he always has been. But he takes things on board. He takes a lot of things on board, and he listens to advice. So I think often the public perception is one of, you know, that sort of cold and moving forward and only my way and whatever. But actually, he takes a lot on board. He listens. He really listens, and he asks questions like someone who's, you know, you expect to be a 60-year-old trainer. So he's you know, you mustn't forget the family background. We always talk about the name of the family, but he's grown up in a house which has never not known boxing, which I can relate to, and he's never ever been in a family that hasn't been involved in boxing. So he has more boxing in his veins than 98% of professional boxers, and that is something that you can feel that he takes on board but learns from as well. It's not a one-way process. He does really open up and has his input on things. And I think some of the things when we make a move, we've also adapted things around, you know, my input with your input, and then we sort of find a common ground. And the determination to reach the top on him is honestly one of the second to none of what I've seen. And don't forget the stage of his career where he's in a place where he's had big fights before, he knows those big fights are coming, and all he wants to do is fight and train. And that's a fantastic place to be as an athlete at this stage of his career. And people ask, what stage of the career is he actually at? Is he like coming up still? Is he there? He's in the prime now. This is a prime stage of the career, and this is the time to take those opportunities, you know, take them and deal with them and perform. And I've not a shadow of my doubt that this guy can do it at the very top level, because he's been there and done it.
Okay, let's play a little game then. Let's put that collaborative spirit to the test then, and see if you are on the same page. So I'll ask you first, Chris, what it is that you want to do in the next few months. You've got Sven Elby, of course, on October the 2nd. We saw you against Marcus Morrison in May, first fight under your now not so new trainer in Roy Jones. People have been talking about the next fight.
The exciting thing about my position right now is that there's so many big fights, there's so many big names. You know, there's massive fights out there that don't even have to be for world titles, and they're all ready and waiting. So you know, after this fight, not that I'm looking past Sven, you know, 18-1, solid, rugged German fighter. We are looking for those big names, those title fights, or the big names that make sense and the public want to see. obviously Golovkin has been in my sights now for years. You know, is he fighting in December? Is he not? We don't know. But over the next 12 months, I don't see how that fight can't happen. It has to happen. You know, there's too much demand, and who else is he going to fight? You know, who else is actually going to give him a fight, a proper fight that the fans want to see? You know, there's so many names. There's big world titles. I think now I've been made mandatory for the WBA superior belt. So you know, there's a big opportunity there to fight for that world title. You got guys like Liam Williams snaking his way around, you know, trying to get involved. You know, that's an exciting fight. You know, you got Canelo Alvarez up at 168, which I would move up to take that fight. And again, you know, who else is going to give him a better fight at these weights? Who else is going to take it to him and not run and try and survive for 12 rounds, which is what I see every single one of these guys doing at the moment. Just, oh, I don't want to get knocked out. Try and survive and get my payday and leave. Saunders, that rat, he's still calling my name even though he has no belt and no credibility in the sport anymore. Is that a fight I would take? Yes. There's a lot of history there, and you know, we have a score to settle. So you know, the possibilities are endless. You know, it's just up to these two to put me on the right path and get me in the ring with these guys, and I'll do the rest.
I think he's mentioned every middleweight that I was about to mention there. So I mean, I think stylistically, every single one of those fights that Chris has mentioned would be an absolute war. It'd be, you know, put a couple of names there. Liam Williams, great fight. You know, big domestic dust up, but you know, Golovkin's still out there, meant to be fighting Murata. No one knows what's happening with that. Golovkin would be a massive name, I agree. And of course, you know, Billy Joe. There's no love lost there. And you know, there's obviously Canelo at 168. But yeah, I mean, there's an exhaustive amount of options out there, and I think all those fights would be brilliant, great spectacles, great fights, and also wars. Yeah, I think you know, we've got a lot of options out there.
I think also, you know, you mentioned about stylistically, but you know, you won't see Chris step back in a fight. You know, he's always stepping forward. I remember the first time I don't know if it was the first time, but one of the first times I saw you in a big fight was against Arthur Abraham, and it was towards the end of Arthur's career. But you know, one thing of fighting knows, the bang never goes, and Arthur, you could do one thing, even at the end, it was bang. And I know it was the 11th round, he caught you flush. I mean, flush. It wasn't a great defensive moment, yeah? But I'm standing there thinking,
can't swim and not get wet.
I'm standing there, it wasn't one of your better defensive moments, but he hit you flush, and I thought instantly, he's gone. He's got to go. I've seen Arthur do this 100 times, losing a fight and then, you know, just pull one out. And he's had sort of a Hagler moment of he's sort of gone like this and just gone and thrown a combination back at him. So, you know, with Junior, you know you're going to get a war, as he's shown so often. And you know, that's, so stylistically, absolutely, I don't think there's a bad fight really to make out there. You know, I mean, one other name that we didn't mention was potentially Andrade is one that I like. It's a good fight. Williams and Saunders, of course, have that domestic thing, and then, you know, we can talk about world titles. There's a big discussion at the moment on the world titles and what world titles are world titles. I think we all know that that's something that's being addressed at the moment. It should be addressed. But there are certain fights that don't need world titles at a domestic level, which, you know, those are exciting fights as well. And, you know, this is, I know it's a sports business, it's probably the hardest of sports business, but it is the entertainment business. And that's what we're there to provide as well. And, you know, I think that there's so many good fights out there. And once again, we're on a great platform with Sky with Chris, so that's fantastic, so very exciting.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, chaps. That wraps it up for this section of the announcement of the press conference, and the fighters who you saw up here will be available to everybody for one-on-ones. There'll be photos as well. And thanks very much for your patience. Thanks for coming.